Have you been stopped by police as you drove in Accra or any parts of this country? Have you been searched by the police? What was the experience like and what was the encounter like? Did you feel that the police was doing something unlawful in this encounter? Today, we teach you what the lawful way it is to do the stop checks and searches by the police. We'll be right back. This is The Law. It's your legal light and health law. With me, Samson Ladi Anyanini. As part of their job, personnel of the Motor Traffic and Transport Department, MTTD, of the police service are trained to spot or to stop you, warn and arrest offending motorists. They are also to control traffic and enforce traffic regulations. Well, many drivers may have had to undergo searches, which in itself may be against the law. But when does the responsibility of the MTTD go overboard? Before we delve into that, let's watch a video clip that went viral a couple of weeks ago, where police personnel subjected a journalist, Sumaru Sanda of City FM, to a search. The posture of personnel in the video was described by many as irresponsible and unlawful. Here are excerpts.
Feel free, go ahead.
Why?
Go ahead, do your search. Please hold on, let me go around the other side.
Don't think we are waiting for you. Don't think we are waiting. Don't mind this man.
Listen, you cannot.
No.
Boss, if you do anything without my consent.
Don't wait anybody time here. Yes, sir.
The smoke is close the front door.
Boss, let me finish. Nobody will take away anything.
You're going to look inside my tissue box.
So can't you put ammunition inside?
Feel free.
Somebody put ammunition inside.
No problem. I want to
put ammunition inside.
No problem, my brother. Please go ahead. Yes, I've seen your name.
What's your name? Hello. What's your name?
I've seen your name.
What's your name?
You're the one who is wanting to beat me up.
Hello. You can go to the moon.
Yes, you have threatened to beat me already.
No, the right thing. Listen, if the police are searching, you're not okay with it, go to the moon.
You're welcome back. This is The Law. And this afternoon, we are teaching lawful spot checks and searches. And we are privileged to have in the studio Superintendent Alexander Obeng. He's Head Education, Research and Training of the MTTD of the Ghana Police Service. Thank you very much for coming to the studio, sir. Right. Julius Opokwe-J promised last week, and he's honored his promise. He's back with us. How privileged we are. He's Head Opokwe-J and Co. Thank you for joining us once again.
Thank you.
Great. So, let's know what your experience, your encounter with the police as regards, being stopped whilst you were driving or whatever the circumstance was, and being searched also by the police. What was the experience like? People have very good stories to tell. How kind the police was, how respectful they were, and how they also submitted very willingly without any resistance. And some also have very, very disturbing stories about how the exercise was conducted. So how or when does it become unlawful? That's what we are treating. And very shortly, you'll have the opportunity to join us to share your experiences and ask your questions to the police and, of course, to the lawyer in the studio. Now, let me begin with Superintendent Alexander Obeng. Now, let's use the example of the journalist Umaru Sanda. Did you see anything wrong in that clip?
All right. Thank you for the opportunity, and afternoon.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
I think the background is very important.
Right.
That as a country, we have put in measures to ensure that public health and safety are protected and are secured. It's in that vein that certain institutions have been established over time and have been equipped and supported, and also reformed consistent with how human we are. And this issue under discussion falls clearly under this issue. And when you look at it in terms of policing, of course, police are trained, deployed to, as it were, ensure protection. And also if there are incidents that need to be detected, apart from deterrence, when they occur, they are handled professionally. And when you look at the incident under discussion, Umaru is a person, a citizen, and if the police officer suspects or has a suspicion that he has an article on him, which a police officer suspects that because maybe he has gotten an information or otherwise, that that article may be an article that is adapted to commit a crime, among others. Of course, the police is mandated to stop and, of course, inform the person that has been constrained, and that is Umaru in this case, and inform him of why they are taking that action. And I think I didn't hear that clearly from the police officer, that we suspect that you have this article on you. And that, for me, is problematic. And again, if you look at the incident, it also suggests to me that the police officers went too far. Because if you look at the criminal offences procedure, and you look at section, for example, 6, unnecessary restraint.
Okay.
And it has some ingredient there that suggests to me that the police officers went too far. Because what article are you looking for is very important in this case. So that if you had informed him or her, or Maro in this case, that, oh, this is a particular article you are looking for. And of course, it might not necessarily lead to going as far as to the pair of socks that he's wearing. And that's why I believe the framers crafted it in such a way that you tell the person, because normally searches comes in most cases after arrest, okay? So that you tell the person why you have stopped him and what you are looking for in connection of offense that you suspect that the person has committed or intend to commit and all that. But when these things are missing, it becomes a problem. And I believe that is the reason why we are gathered here. All with the view that, in the end, professionals as police officers will also take a cue from this and become more professional moving on. Because, like I said, the police is also amenable to change and reform so that we become more professional and move away from the early 19th and 20th century policing to the moment. So for me, there were a little excesses and
so
discretion was not.
We are just using this to begin the education for the public. Let me hear from Ofukweje also what you think or what you find lawful or unlawful watching the clip.
First of all, the demeanor of the police officers was, to me, completely and very unnecessarily belligerent, as if they have an issue with the person that they had stopped.
They could have been provoked.
That's why I would say probably they were unhappy that he says he's going to record what they are going to do, etc., etc. But in these days, anything can happen. There are vehicles which come already, or people install recorders in the vehicle, so that what happens in the vehicle and around the vehicle is recorded. If he doesn't have such a device and he says, because I don't know what will happen, I want to record what is going on, and he informed them. I think it's for the good of both parties. So they shouldn't have taken offense. But for me, this whole thing of stop and search is completely wrong. It's completely wrong. You see, let me explain. You search without a warrant if you have reasonable suspicion that an offense has been committed, an offense is about to be committed, or there's an article in the vehicle or whatever you are searching which has been used to commit an offense or is going to be used to commit, etc., etc. But you notice that these searches are random. And I don't think anybody can convince me that there's reasonableness in that randomness. That you look at this car coming, so okay, car number 3, let's suspect that they have something, so let's stop them and search them. Let's wait for 3 or 4 more cars to go, and then let's suspect again, and then search them, stop them and search them. It baffles my mind a bit. We've all been subjected to these searches, and sometimes, as you pointed out, they are very polite, they are civil, so you don't mind, you actually even cooperate with them. I've had occasion where they stopped me, please, we want permission to search your glove box. I said, go ahead. If it is locked, I open it for them. They do it, because sometimes you don't want that conflict and altercation. But I don't see, maybe officer here can help me, the basis for that stop and search itself. Because the law, as I read it, says there must be reasonable suspicion before you go and search somebody without a warrant, unless the person has already been arrested. If the person has been arrested, then the police have the right, in fact, they are obliged to search that person if they so wish. So those are my thoughts about it.
So the first thing to establish is that by law, the police, who are the peace officers that the nation needs, and you and I also need for our safety and for our protection, have the right and the power to stop you and also to search with or without a warrant. But you say if they have to search you without a warrant, certain conditions must prevail. And the primary condition must be that they have a reasonable suspicion.
Yes.
A reasonable suspicion that, or a reasonable cause. The law says where a police officer has reasonable cause to believe that an article which has been stolen or unlawfully obtained, in respect of which a criminal offense has been or is being or is about to be committed. This is what you spoke about.
Yes.
Is being conveyed, is concealed, or being carried on a person in a public place, or is concealed or contained in a package in a public place for the purposes of being conveyed, the police officer may, where the exigencies of the case so require, without a warrant or written authority, arrest, seize, and search that person, package, or article. So they must first have a reasonable cause, which you say is suspicion. And the reasonable cause must be that you are carrying something which is stolen or which is unlawfully obtained, or that whatever you have is in respect of which a criminal offense has been or is being or is about to be committed.
Yes.
That you are conveyed, is being conveyed, is concealed, or being carried, and the rest of them, as I mentioned here.
Yeah.
So maybe we should start with Superintendent Obeng. What is the reasonable cause that will cause you to stop somebody and begin to search them without a warrant?
Yeah, I think clearly the suspicion will arise as a result of a lookout information received, for example. And that can be on reasonable grounds. That, for example, on that corridor, there's suspected to be some individuals suspected to be carrying A and B articles, so look out. In such instances, police it doesn't need a warrant, but the authority issued through the call by the superintendent in charge, the team or the jurisdiction, to ensure that such articles are not adopted by any person to use it to commit any crime. And it's incumbent on the state through the police to look out for and as much as possible try to detect and retrieve so that that is not used to commit any crime. And that might be a very good ground. Again, there are instances that police may get other intel and may not necessarily pinpoint at who, how, where, but there is that suspicion. As I said earlier, we are all looking at the clarion objective of public health and safety, and therefore, every officer within the jurisdiction will ensure that he looks out. And that's where the issue of stop and search comes in. And the stop and search is very critical because policing rests also on increasing the sense of detection and apprehension on persons who live in a particular jurisdiction. And therefore, police modus should not order be predictive.
That's right.
And that is why these things are also very important.
I think I like what you just said, increasing the sense of detection and apprehension.
And elsewhere, you link it with sanction. And when you're able to link it with sanction like the court
what you mean by that is that the public, whilst they are traveling or going about their business, must have a sense that if I put a stolen item in my car or on my body, there is the possibility that I will be searched.
And it might be detected.
Okay.
And may be linked with a crime or whatever. And you may have your day in court. And that serves an assurance.
That's right.
For the public safety, for the residents, that police is on their feet. There is much surveillance. In our system, it's in recent time that we are seeing massive investment in surveillance. And that's why we have CCTVs almost all over under Alpha projects. You get what I'm talking about? And that itself is enough to assure many communities that police might not be patrolling there, but at institute, a public office elsewhere, we are monitoring around the clock. And that itself deters.
That's right.
And that is because of the absence of such intervention. That's why since independence, police have been using, I normally call it people-based one-on-one approach. And that you and me, we have met, and let us engage. And that is why the framers frame it like that. But I believe moving on, some of these things may change. Because if you begin to see a state investing in so much cameras, surveillance systems, able to, monitor 24 hours, of which we need fewer people efficiently to monitor and gather evidence and profile people and ensure that people who are not supposed to be at certain places are not there. People who have adopted articles, including vehicles, to commit crime, suspicious articles, can easily be detected, a lookout, and then in real time, they will be stopped, other than resorting to this probability of order. But it is critical in an environment where most of your capacity to detect crime is you use one-on-one.
Let's get the lawyer's perspective of what the reasonable cause will be, or the reasonable suspicion will be. And I find a definition that says that reasonable cause does not coexist with malice. And that reasonable suspicion is a belief based on objective and articulable facts sufficient to lead a prudent person to believe that the person is under the influence or impaired by drugs, alcohol, so on and so forth. So when we say reasonable cause, when can we say the police is right in making that suspicion and stopping me proceeding to either arrest, seize, and then search?
Yeah, well, let me see. They are right when the cause is reasonable. Yes. By this, you see, what I am looking at, you see, whilst random searches may be extremely useful, my position is that it is not supported by the law. Reasonable cause will arise from the training of the police. If the police are trained so well that they can look at people and profile, they can look at a vehicle and profile, because sometimes when they stop you, they engage you in some small conversation. Hello, good afternoon or good evening, sir. Where are you heading? I expect that if such an engagement takes place, then they would be assessing you to determine whether or not to move further, whether or not they have cause or belief. Say, let's go beyond this and search this fellow or search this vehicle. That, in such an instance, I can say a case can be made. But where it is just random, and it's like as if they are counting the cars. Every fifth car, let's stop and search. Every fifth car, let's stop and search. And I've seen so many of such on the highway, especially on the highway. I know Umaru's video, Mr. Sanders' video, which you showed, happened in town. But very often on the highway, it's extremely random, to my mind, unless there is a method to that as a public we are unaware of. It seems so random that I don't think that there's any cause. It's as if let's just pick some and then search them and see what goes on. So if there's a reasonable cause, if they have reason to believe because of their interaction with you, the way you are driving, the way you are dressed, I mean, that doesn't mean that if you dress in a certain way, you are automatically to come under suspicion. But that's what it should come from the training, so that they can profile, and this is not a negative profile, profile positively, properly, and determine who to search, when to search, and what to search for.
Whilst we got ready to have this discussion, somebody shared some examples in Canada with me, and in cases where, because the police was wrong in how they approach the process, like Superintendent Obing spoke about, first informing the person you are making the contact with of what exactly you are stopping them for, and if you are going to search, what it is that you intend to search for. And I find that in a number of cases in Canada, because the police used a wrong method, they got something which was incriminating, however. But because they used the wrong method, they ended up losing a case. So, to start with, how will your officers do it rightly so that in the end, all of us can be happy?
Thank you. I think in Ghana, it's sometimes very large and difficult to decouple arrest from search. It's very critical, and it's why I believe the framers also allow police to have that power of searching to the extent of breaking in and breaking out. Because much policing is not necessarily a hardcore science. It is social, and sometimes you act on your feet. And I think the framers thought of it and gave such a power to a body of men. However, we exercise it within great discretion. And that is why initially I talked of necessary restraint and all that comes in. You need police, every police officer everywhere need to exercise great discretion on your feet to solve such problems. And I believe that in searching, in most cases, the search is linked with arrest. And the essence of it goes beyond incriminating the one that you are even searching. There are instances that the search, you are retrieving an article that the one being searched may use same article to either injure him or herself or cause collateral injury to others around. And there are also instances that it helps us to gather evidence in order to support our suspicion of the offense that the person was initially suspected to have been about to commit and all that. So we must also appreciate police in that context, that in most cases, when you deploy traffic police or any operational team on the road, know that it's not in all cases that they have a case or a group of persons in mind to be about to go and commit crime. However, because of their training,
is that not what?
Because of their
training, that not what reasonable cause means? That you know this vehicle, this person, this house, this shop. You have a suspicion that something is there because you have articulable facts. That's what the reasonable cause talks about. You have some information, or something has happened to give you reason that something is going on there that is unlawful, and that you don't just get up and come to this house and say, I'm entering to search you, hoping that I'll find something.
I think that's basically the practice, that police will not necessarily get up and then send team to go and enter
on
houses and all that.
A fishing expedition.
No, almost all the time it is grounded on intelligence. I've talked about it. However, there are also other instances like talking about stop and search on our public road and our public duty points. I told you of the intent, and that to increase sense of detection apprehension to ensure compliance.
That's understood.
And you expect that the police officers are trained to have such eyes that said who is driving the vehicle, who are on board, what kind of vehicle is approaching, how are they approaching, and what is their, we look at their facial, their countenance.
So, for example,
and turn out and all that.
So, for example, a vehicle that is doing a certain speed around a certain time or at a place can give you cause that they may be running away.
So, yes. Okay. Why? You see, but that is the reasonable thing, that a normal person on that corridor usually will not move at maybe 50. Why is it that at this time you are moving at 90. Why? Is it that you have committed an offense somewhere and police is here to be informed and you are trying to escape? What is the reason? We want to find out. Or is it that you have abducted somebody? Or what is happening? That may be a reasonable ground. And you are looking at who are on board. Are these below 20-year-old guys? What kind of dressing are they? Are they these guys who normally patronize clubs and around that time and normally get binge drinking mood and do all that? Let's find out. For example,
okay. That's an interesting.
And these are these are some of the basic things that
there are people who
inform.
Yeah, you know. There are people, for example, let me say the Rastafarians that are not particularly pleased because you sort of some of your officers, you know, equate them with criminals, and because he's carrying, you know, braided dreadlocks or something, because of that, they have to be stopped and searched. Now, from where you sit, searching someone without a warrant is only an exception in the law. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So that the standard is to have a warrant from a court.
Yes.
And the warrant will normally detail everything and the reason for which you are coming to be searched.
On oath.
Right.
Apply for it on oath.
And who?
So how should the exception be applied in a manner by the police that does not breach my rights?
Well, for the application of that exception, I think that's something the law has set out the steps very clearly. The problem is with the application. Because if you are going to search anybody and you know beforehand, you make your application to the magistrate, you state why you want to search that person, which place you want
of course, on their blind side.
Yes, of course. You don't inform them, so they take the article and take it elsewhere.
Right.
You put all that there. And the warrant even says who can conduct the search. It's not open. If it wants it to be open for any police officer, it says so. That is clear. If you are going to do that, and then let's not forget that you and I have our rights to privacy.
Right.
So the search is an invasion of our right to privacy. So it should not be done lightly. So if you are going to do it without a supervisory authority, that is the court, then you must have good reason, and that is the cause. And that's why I see the law. I understand the law to say that. You must have a reason. You can't just decide that I want to search this guy. And it says reasonable cause. It's not fanciful cause or just cause.
And that reasonable cause must be a belief.
Yes.
That you are carrying a stolen item.
Yes.
You are carrying something that is unlawfully obtained.
Yes.
You are conveying, you are concealing, or you are carrying something to commit a crime, and so on and so forth.
Yes. The law is so clear about it. That's why I have a problem with if you are stopping people and searching them without having that reasonable cause. It's, for me, what I see is so random that there cannot be a reasonable cause to it. I mean,
in Omaru's case, it does appear there was clearly no incident of reasonable cause.
Look, and,
so they said, pull out this, let's look. Then I think his tissue.
They will look in the tissue box.
But
very interesting. You say you are looking for, I mean, that's what we heard on the video, ammunition. You take smoke, you shake the smoke, and you don't put your hand in the pockets if you are really looking for ammunition. If I'm carrying one bullet or one cartridge and you take the smoke and shake it, do you expect it to fall out? No. You put your hand in the pockets of the smoke to see if I've hidden something there.
But in his case, are they even able to establish the reasonable cause
that's the exact
or the
point.
suspicion that led them to?
That is the point I'm making, that the professed reason for the search cannot be. Because if you were really looking for ammunition, if you take the smoke, I am not a policeman, but I'll put my hand in the pockets to see if there's something in there.
Okay.
You are not looking for a 10-kilogram bomb, which you can easily see.
Okay, so let's continue the education this way by taking people's questions, and then he may also help us, and you can also help us, how people should respond to the police when they are stopped to be searched, or they it's a premises that they have to be safe. How you are also supposed to conduct yourself when the police get in contact with you for that purpose. And the example that I was giving in one case, they threw the police out for failing to formally caution the person because they arrested the person, for failing to advise the person of the availability of legal aid and to counsel that you have a right to a lawyer of your choice. They questioned the person for over 20 minutes before he could consult his lawyer. And they did a strip search. They searched the person's cell phone without a warrant. Okay, let's go to Zoom. Hello. Okay, so I see a good number of you. Hello, Nana. Let's hear you. What's your questioning or what's your experience?
Hello, Samson. Thank you very much for this education. Well, some of us have been victim of this search, and I tell you, it wasn't a good experience. Especially when I was driving at night around the Sapmono Beach, police officers stopped me. And it looks like around that time was a bit lonely, and the manner in which they went about the search. I mean, the police was supposed to give me comfort driving in the night, but rather I was a bit scared. But thankfully, nothing untoward happened.
Nana, what time in the night was it?
For us as citizens.
What time in the night was it?
Come again. It was around 10:30 p.m.
Okay. Please proceed and conclude.
Okay, so I would like to ask the police officer, what are the guidelines for us as citizens in case we are stopped by police officers? What are the actions or any actions that we have to exhibit to go through the search?
Great.
And if there's any untoward kind of behavior, who do we report to?
Great. Thank you very much, Nana. And yes, Superintendent Robin, you noticed questioning.
Yeah.
They want to know if there are any guidelines for this, when they can feel what they are supposed to do, and because if they know what they are supposed to do and what the officer is also not supposed to do, then they'll be able to question. And if they have to question, where do they go to? After Nana, hello, GH.
Hello, Samson.
Yeah, GH, what's your name?
My name is Augustine.
Great, let's hear you.
I can say that though the police officers were unprofessional to some extent, but one thing you have to also realize is they are human beings just like we are.
Absolutely.
Sometimes the response of the people being searched or the response sometimes provoke the police officers to the extent that sometimes they go beyond what they are expected to do. Because I've also been in a car and seen police officers like trying to question people, and their response sometimes is provoking. One thing we have to also realize is they are human beings just like us. If they meet you, how you respond to their questions will sometimes let them not search you like to go beyond what they expected to.
Thank you, Augustine. Thank you, Augustine. Who is shaking his head so frequently? Yes. Is that me? Okay.
Yes.
Let's hear you. You disagree with Augustine. Let's know your disagreement.
Yeah, police are trained to deal with people. And so you can't say because you are rude to them, they have to use lethal force or beat you. I think that's not a good enough excuse. But more to the point I want to raise is, how effective are the checkpoints? Has there been any evaluation on the police checkpoints to say that they've stopped crimes X and A? Are they actually effective? Is there any evaluation? That's one. The other point I want to raise is also that the police swoops are actually the most evasive and I believe the most discriminatory policies the police have in place. They just storm a neighborhood and arrest people en masse and then start searching them. And usually they'll show some bullets and a gun and some laptops and maybe some dry leaves, and then they'll say these are suspected criminals. I believe that's so invasive and discriminatory. The other thing I want to also find out is whether citizens are allowed to record the police. I've never gotten a clear answer on that before, so I'd love to hear that. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. So what I'll do is that, gentlemen, I can see all of you and you are eager to talk. hold it on, and let's get Superintendent Obing.
Ni's last bit, I don't think, whether he has
a right to record the officer who attempts to search him or stop them.
Okay. I think, first of all, the citizens have rights when they are being arrested, when they are being searched, when they are being transported, either to the police station or to the courts, and being handed over to the gaoler. They have rights. And the first right that is guaranteed under our 1992 Republican Constitution is Article 15 here. It's very critical that in spite of whatever power that police has to arrest and search, it's supposed not to be such indignified process to the extent of...
the dignity is inviolable. That's what the law says.
Yeah, that's something.
You can't violate the dignity.
You can't violate. Therefore, in searches, we even to the extent ensure that men search men and women search women. And you don't, irrespective of who is searching, you don't go to the private parts among others. And these are all clarified and codified. And it's important. And the police officers have the right to inform you that you have the right to remain silent, and is supposed to also assure you of your right to counsel and what he's about to do.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if you arrest, tell the person in the language you understand.
Right.
And that's why I support the...
That's what we call generally the Miranda rights.
And it is practical.
If you fail to outline the Miranda rights of the suspect to them, your case will become a useless one.
And I believe it is a reason why.
Okay.
In the process of engaging the so-called suspected offender, you are watering down tension and all that.
Okay.
And so that you see that you are human, you are engaging. Right. However, the police officer who hasn't got any right to engage the person is searching in unnecessary conversation and taunting. You see what I'm talking about? However, in terms of scenes, why? We know that, and I have a lot of information on the social media where, because of the benevolence of the same people, have led to the promotion or recommendation and promotion of police officers as a result of recordings, because these things were not intrusive, because they all occurred at public places. And it cannot be that, for example, if you are at Circle and you are conducting your search in public and all eyes are observing and the camera is observing, then you take an offense. And I think that we should look at these things as very trivial.
All right.
It's unnecessary. And I believe that police officers were all learning very fast from this.
Okay.
I've ever been telling my traffic police officers, immediately you are deployed.
Let's do this quite quick. His next question, and we started from him, he was the last to speak, ask us. His next question is, have you done an evaluation of your stop checks to find out if it's been any useful?
That's what I'm saying. As for the usefulness of our public duty points, it lies with the police that has the responsibility to that jurisdiction and its residents. And that's why there is constant daily and weekly brief, the police command and the divisions and the district. And to the extent that police thrives on saturation and visibility, it is sometimes difficult to quantify whether it is effective or not, because you need to see police officer deployed. It's every country's wish that it approaches the UN ratio, so that you will see physical police officers present to increase sense of apprehension.
That's right.
And so it is better than in a do-nothing situation where there are no traffic police officers.
Augustine's question was very critical.
For us,
we wanted education.
You know what I'm saying? We do it on weekly, I've mentioned it, and then on daily basis, police officers are then observing, and most of these things goes also with incident trends.
Augustine was on the driving along the beach area, and he says that he was stopped around 10 a.m. thereabout, 10 p.m. and searched. And he's asking, so what first? Is it natural, or is it in the course that because it's around 10 p.m. you will take a suspicion and want to search.
It's also obvious that in the night, depending on what the police who is superintending there also believe based on incidents, may see the difference between nocturnal and diurnal incidents of crime trend, and may want to stay alert and ensure that at night more police are deployed and more people are checked, particularly during the late peak hours, so that it will not be that people will use such occasion to commit crime.
Right. So finally, his critical question was, how should we as civilians, citizens, react when police stop us and tell us that they want to search us, and what will be wrongs that they may commit, and if they do and we detect them, where do we report to?
As I said, that first of all, you have the right to dignity, and as that guarantee right under Article 15.
Yeah.
All of us must insist on it.
So give us a list. Yes, that's number one.
And that is very important. And you must comply with what police officer have lawfully said he wants to do, and you should be forthcoming. That if he says open here, you try as much as possible to open and assist. And we should try as much as possible not to enter into conversations, because those are not necessary. Otherwise, to escalate. On the part of police, we keep on insisting on that for them. And I will take this opportunity to also inform the general public. Those things are commentary that are necessary. The issue is about, has there been a suspected offense that is involved, or an article that...
If I find the officer offending me in the process or violating my rights, what should I do?
When mechanism to insisting on our rights are many, and that's why police, we have established internally PIPs, and we've given out our numbers that at the end of the day, when information or evidence is gathered of scene, a complaint has to be lodged for the police that sent the team to look into it. Right. And if there is any misconduct that has ensued, there is a public process that the police officer will go through. So these mechanisms are there. But what is important for us to appreciate is that it is not consistent with police when police officers begin to taunt. For example, on the Maro thing, you cannot. That was basically criminal. That you can go to, and all those the moon. All those are
okay.
Verbal.
So I'll take a quick break and then return to hear from the lawyer's perspective. He would also have some answers to you, what you could do and what you should spot and take as wrong being done in a police stopping you and seeking to search. And it doesn't mean that because we say submit, irrespective of how the police's conduct is in approaching you, you must submit. We'll be right back. Right. Thank you very much. This is the law. This is your legal light and health law. If you didn't hear anything at all from Superintendent Obeng, he has made you aware that a police officer who stops you must first courteously tell you why he's stopping you. If he thinks that he suspects you are committing an offense, he has to tell you what exactly offense he thinks you are committing. If your vehicle or on your body there is some article or substance for which he is seeking to search, he must inform you what he is looking for on you before he conducts the search. Then you must submit. Open your boot, you open it nicely, open this other portion for him open, and remember, you are under the Constitution, you have a right to record what transpires, because you have a right to know what is going on. And later, if you need evidence to support what you have to do, it is the recording that may help you. So if you feel that it is necessary to record it, and you have committed no wrong in making a recording. Just be sure you are also not, doing it in a way that brings a fight. Yes. What should they look out for that will make them know something is going on unlawfully? And if that is happening, how should they respond to it?
First of all, as the Superintendent Obeng said, if the policeman doesn't tell you why he has stopped you, why he wants to search you, and what he's looking for, you ought to be suspicious. Because even if it's a random thing, there must be reason. Are they looking for weapons? Are they looking for knives? Marijuana, etc. You should know what they are looking for. And observe them closely. If you record, that's fine. But even if you are not record, observe them closely. I don't say our police do that, but we've heard stories of items being planted during a search.
Right.
And then you find yourself in trouble when you have absolutely no idea.
That was Omaru's concern.
His fear.
He said, I don't know what you may plant on me, so I have to record you.
Yes. Yes. And I mean, I don't see it a lot these days, but not too long ago, police were giving body cameras to record their own interactions with the public on the road.
Elsewhere or Ghana?
Here in Ghana.
Oh, I haven't experienced that. I know elsewhere they have cameras, everything.
Was it last year, before the lockdown?
Yeah.
Before the lockdown, police were issued here in Ghana. I've seen them.
Okay.
But the numbers, instead of going up, seem to be going down. I don't know whether
I think that was experimental.
Yes,
yeah. So if the police has a vest or camera to record, why can't I also record my portion of it so that...
No, but elsewhere, the purpose of that is actually for both protections.
Yes.
That's exactly what I mean.
So that in case you come to report that the police misconducted themselves, the recording will be there.
Yes.
The timelines will be there. We can use that to check
what really happened.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. So, but generally, I would also advise the public that even where you think that your rights are being breached, are being violated, don't get into an unnecessary confrontation, which may escalate tempers and then may lead to certain... There are instances where people would take actions and regret.
Okay.
The policeman might be wrong. You are better off alive and reporting that police officer than getting into an unnecessary altercation and then you are injured or you are dead or something has gone wrong, and no matter how much he is punished, what has happened to you would have happened to you.
That's right.
That's my advice.
So you observe and take the evidence.
Yes.
And then use it later.
Yes.
Maybe go through the PIPs, you make a report. I have gone to PIPs to defend police officers because sometimes we wrong them. That's true. Sometimes we wrong them. Right. So you take the evidence, you can go through the PIPs. You can actually take a suit on your own too if you want to.
Yes.
Right. That's interesting. Can we take maybe one more question or commentary from Zoom, and then we can continue? No, we have spoken to, Ni has spoken already to us. Hello, Marcus.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, Marcus, let's go.
I'm speaking to you from Thailand, Bangkok. On my question to the police officer is that when I saw that of the journalist being searched by the police, I could see that the police they didn't have any gloves or anything on their hands. And you know, forensic, here where we live, it happens to us most of the time when you go out, sometimes passport and all those things. But normally before they come to you, searching you, they will tell you that this is what we stopped you for. And they will tell you that you have the right to record whatever is going to take place. So my only concern here is, what does the police do if anything was found on the journalist and the police might have heard the thing? Whose fingerprint is going? Because here they use the fingerprint very well. So that is my question.
Okay, very interesting. Well, how do you?
And I think it's obvious that it would have created a lot of problem in terms of how those articles would have been handled. That you end up leaving your own fingerprint impressions on it, making it difficult to know who the owner is and how to connect it to the crime, the suspect and the crime. And so I agree with him, and that's why most searches apart from those that you see are done by the crime scene management team, who are professional and equipped to handle it for us. Again, there are also few that also ensure that their hands are protected before such searches are conducted. I think that it is now clear that in searching, it is critical that we search. Had it not been these excesses, it has led to great success in this country of ours.
Okay.
That a lot have been.
We have just a minute to go, so in 30 seconds, maybe, and let's all also remember that the police work is for us, is for our interest. So let's be careful how we go about it. Sometimes unnecessarily, being provocative about the process. But that does not mean if you feel genuinely that your rights are being violated, you stand up, like Umaru may have done in his case. So tell us, what has happened to those officers? Is there anything going on about them?
I think I'm aware Umaru has lodged a complaint, so definitely PIPS will look into it as a public process. So that's where I will leave it. I want to, first of all, appreciate the general public. Many have been forthcoming when police stop them for such searches, and few that have been violated. I think police is always ready to also empathize and all that. And having said that, I will encourage as many as possible, given our circumstances, to support police to stop, to assist to search, and help us to gather evidence that will connect and also identify persons that are undermining our public safety issues.
That's right.
Security,
that assures our safety.
So that we ensure maximum security.
Yeah. What will be your final comments, and particularly to the public in these matters?
Well, the police help all of us. They protect us. We should cooperate with them. But at the same time, we don't accept a violation of our rights. And if your rights are violated, please don't fight. Make a report to the appropriate police department. That's the PIPS.
Great. And it was very, very, very exciting hearing the gentleman caller from Bangkok say that they actually are told by the police officers that you can record the encounter. My guests have been Superintendent Alexander Obeng, Head Education, Research and Training, MTTD, Ghana Police Service, and Julius Opoku-Adjei, Head Opoku-Adjei & Co. I can't thank you enough. Thank you very much. Right. Next week, God willing, same time, we will come your way with the law. This is your Legal Light and Health Law. I'm Samson Ladi Anyanini.